All right, folks, since it is noon, we're going to go ahead and get started. So hello, everyone, and welcome to our engineering webinar series. We hope you, your family, and colleagues are all as safe and happy as possible during these challenging times. My name is Chris Cogswell. I'm a customer consultant for the corporate Midwest and Southeastern United States for Elsevier Engineering. It's my pleasure today to introduce Kathy Cable, my colleague at Elsevier, who will talk to us today about the ways to collaborate with your team members on Engineering Village and Novel. Please write your questions in the question and answer queue, which we then answer at the end of the session as time allows. And I'm going to start off here with a poll. If you could please take a moment to answer that, it would be very helpful for us. So we'll give folks about 30 seconds here to answer the poll before I hand it over to my colleague, Kathy. Give folks a couple more seconds here in case they haven't been able to find the poll feature. All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much for your participation. Kathy, it looks like we have folks who believe collaboration is important in their line of work, but who don't currently use EV or Novel for that collaboration. So should be a very informative session. So take it away, Kathy.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for attending today and taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend our session. As Chris said, today we're going to be discussing utilizing the collaboration features within Engineering Village and Novel. Okay. So, let me get my PowerPoint here. Before I begin, I am the academic engineering CC here at Elsevier. I have been with Elsevier since 2013, and I've been with Novel since 2004. So as I prepared for today, I really thought about, well, what is collaboration? Collaboration means so many different things to different people. It sounds simpler than it really is. When you take a deeper look at what business is about, it essentially comes down to coordinating efforts of an institution, their employees, to provide goods and services. And throughout the history of time, there's been collaboration, and there's been some good collaboration. A good example of that is the Wright brothers. Orville and Wilbur Wright started their bicycle shop in 1892. And in early 1903, they developed the 3-axis controls that made flying a fixed-wing aircraft possible. Their invention not only made airplanes a part of industry and trade, but opened the world to a kind of travel that most people dreamed of. Their collaboration resulted in one of the most influential inventions of the 20th century. But times have changed since that famous flight, and technology has certainly grown exponentially. We literally have resources at our fingertips. Something Orville and Wilbur didn't have. But we also have researchers scattered throughout all over the world. And during these times, more and more people have employees working remotely. Collaboration has been redefined and it's evolving. Sophisticated research tools are essential, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We'll be looking at 2 of those research tools, Engineering Village and Novel. First, we'll talk about Engineering Village. Engineering Village, identify. We can identify leading engineers on specific topics or processes. We can identify funding institutions that support specific research topics. We can locate academic and corporate centers of excellence for engineering research. We can customize author, organization, or funding by country, time frame, or subspecialty. And we can share our research with our colleagues, whether they're worldwide or in the same room. With Novel, we can add notes to our research. We can save contents, notes, and searches. We can create folders. And we can share our search findings and folders with our colleagues. Now that we've had just a slight brief overview of what is provided with these resources, let's go into the resources and see them live. We're going to start today with Engineering Village. This is the homepage of Engineering Village. And before we start, I want to give you a scenario that we're going to look at today. Today's scenario is I'm from a small, fairly new company. We have sites in the US, South America, and Germany. The team I'm working with is developing an autonomous unmanned robotic airship. We're looking for researchers and authors. We're looking for author affiliations. We're looking for funding and sponsors and engineering research profiles. We're also going to be looking at full text on the subject, and I need to see if I can find specifically for me aluminum information on aluminum that we use with these robotics. For today, as you see, these are all the databases that you'll find on Engineering Village. For today's purpose, we're not going to search under all of them. I'm just going to look at Compendex. And we're going to start here in Quick Search, and I'm going to look for autonomous unmanned robotic airships. You can see I can type it out, or it's already here because I was looking at it earlier, and we're going to hit enter. We have 52 records that we found. Here you'll find some information in the center, and here you can refine your search even further if you'd like to. Here's the access type. We have document type. There's the authors, author affiliation, and so forth. I do want to refine this even further, and I want to go to air navigation. So we can click it here, or we can view more. Here's all the controlled vocabulary listed. And we're going to go with air navigation. And then I'm going to search on limit 2. So here are the search results based on my refining. So we've gone down to 12 records. Now I'm going to go through this to see if there's anything, any abstract that I find more appealing than others. We've followed Project Aurora, and we've read several journals about that. So I'm going to look at this one. So here in the abstract, you'll see you can now create a link to share the record. You can email the link, you can email it, and you can do that. You can print it, or you can download it, and here's the different ways you can download it. And we're going to cancel that out. We're not going to do that right now. So you'll see here are the authors and the researchers of this journal. And next to this some of them, you'll see this icon. This icon is their email address. So I can directly contact this author and researcher because I now have their email address. So that's one way I can reach out to them and see what they're doing and if we can collaborate in some way or get some more information from them and partner together. So I'm going to go back to the results. Now that I know who some of the authors are that I'm interested in, I'm going to look at the author facet here. Now we can look at the graph here. And like I showed you before, we can also go to the full list of items. Now, we know because we just saw the abstract that I was interested in, the name of some of the authors. So I'm going to click on their names. I'll list. And here again, it refines it even further for you. I'm going to go back to the authors. Authors affiliation. Who are the authors affiliated with? That's important to know as well. And we have 3 right here. And we are familiar with some of those as they're close, they're in South America where we have some sites. We can also, if we choose to, I could limit where the country or the region is that I'm searching on. And there's the publisher. Here's the funding sponsor. Here's the funding sponsor information. So this is where the funding is coming from, based on my search. And we can always refine the search and get different answers or additional answers to that question. We're going to close that there. I want to go back to authors and see if there's any. This author also was on the list as well, on the journal that we were interested in. So there, in that short period of time, what we did is we found journals published by those certain authors that we're familiar with and we want more information on. We've also found email information so we can contact the researcher directly. And there's also ways to share these with my colleagues. I can now create an alert based on my search. I can share the search with my colleagues so they can see what I found. There's the RSS feed. And I can also download this to my folder. I have an existing folder, so I'm going to save it there, or I can create a new folder and add it there. So up here in the search, I also want to show you the engineering research profile. We are interested in University of Pennsylvania and what their output is. So as you can see here, we've got top authors, their research focus, robotics. That would be good for us. You click over it and there's 368 records, their funding sponsorship, where they're being funded, publishing trends, source titles, subject areas, and so forth. So we have colleagues that are interested in working with universities. This is a good spot to go to see where the research focus, areas of focus are. We are also talking with Jet Propulsion Labs out in California. Again, here's the top authors, here's their research focus, and so forth. So we can gather that information there as well. And we can keep an eye on it. Again, set up an alert. And when there's some changes, you'll get notified. Every Friday, alerts come out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the search history, and I want to go back to the results. And what I want now is, now that I've gotten some sort of information on the authors and the researchers and where the funding is coming from and so forth, I want to go into novel because I need to find more information for my colleagues. So we go into novel, and here this is what we're searching on: autonomous unmanned robotic airships. And here are the results for that. So if we go into, let's see, this one I want. So here we go into the book. We can save it to my novel. We can capture the citation. You can save it to your mobile device, and we can share it. I want to go into this chapter. Here's the introduction, 3D texture. We're looking at that. I'm going to add a note. For James. James is looking at that particular topic. Okay, so we're going to do that, and we're going to add the note. So, and then I'm going to go in and I am going to share this. And I can share that. We're going to go back to the home page, because my position in the team is I need to look up and find some information on a specific property. So I'm going to go into Novels property search, and I am going to look up aluminum. And I want the molar density. So there's 3 results here. I'm going to save this to my novel so I know where to find it. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to go into the results. So on this results page, we have all, and we have tables and graphs. We can go in here, we can plot an equation, and again, we can export it, and these are the different types of export. We can print it, and I can add it to my novel. That's wonderful. So now we're going to go back to the home page, and I'm going to quickly show you, this is where you'll find my novel. Now, for my novel and access to my novel, you do have to register. You just have to provide a name where your institutional email, and you'll be able to have access to My Novel. With My Novel, you can set up alerts, and this is where you would retrieve them. You can create folders. You can share with colleagues. You can share, let me go in, autonomous airships. Can rename it. I can share this with my colleagues. Again, and I can delete it if it's a project I no longer want or if it's something I don't need. So that is My Novel. And as always, there's video tutorials if you need help or if you just need some guidance on what to do. You can look at your activity. That's where you'll see your history of your searches, and you can create a profile. And as you can see, this all goes back to collaboration and the different types of collaboration. We talked about collaboration with the Wright brothers, but it's not just business. There's day-to-day collaborations that we somehow, or that we sometimes partake in. My vegetable garden is a good example of that. I had certain knowledge of certain things in my vegetable garden, but I wasn't sure on when to fertilize and just the type of soil. So that's when I collaborated with my best friend. And we created this wonderful garden that we're sharing now. And we have such a bounty. But see, it's the same with Engineering Village and Novel. Engineering Village, we were able to get to the researchers and the authors and the sponsors. And with Novel, we've got the information that we need to create these unmanned vehicles and put them together, and it's a great combination. I thank you for your time today. And I would ask Chris, do we have any questions?
Thank you, Kathy. We will now move on to some questions from the audience. So we do have some questions here. The first one is, so you said that we could create and add to folders, but how can we share those folders?
That's a really good question. So let's go to Engineering Village real quick. So up here, under the More section, that's where you're going to find where you've tagged and you're in groups, and that's where you're going to find your folders. So you can't share the entire folder, but what you can do is you can go into your records and you can share from there. You can't share the entire folder, but you can share the records within the folder. Now let's go to Novel. My Novel. You can share that with, there's the share button there for your colleagues, and then you can share that folder there. That should answer that question. Are there any more?
Yeah, there are actually. Before we jump into that, actually, I did want to launch another poll. If the folks who are attending could please go ahead and answer that. So I'm going to launch this poll quickly, and then we will pull up this other question here. All right, so the next question is, for Engineering Village, I need to refine my search, but I'm not sure what controlled vocabulary to use. Are there suggestions or other things? And if there are suggestions, where can I find them?
That is a good question. We did quickly, I know we don't have a lot of time. We didn't have a lot of time, so there wasn't a lot of time to go into great detail. But let's go back to Engineering Village. And go to, I'm going to go search history, go back to that search that we did. Here we go. So down here on the facets on the left-hand side, you'll see controlled vocabulary there. There's some suggested terms up here under the search bar. But if you go into one of the abstracts and you scroll down, you'll also see some more controlled terms and uncontrolled terms right there in the abstract. And that's where you find them.
Okay, great. Thank you. So okay, we're getting one other question here. So for novel, does everyone have access to my novel?
Everybody who has a subscription to Novel and has registered will have access to my novel.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Great. So I'm going to end polling here for everyone. If I'll give people a couple more seconds here to finish up their polling if they'd like. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the polling. Doesn't look like we're getting any other questions here. If you do have any others, please do enter them into the question and answer section there. But with that, we're going to wrap up. So thank you everyone for attending this webinar session. We will be holding these each Thursday at this time, and the next session is a review of the remote access options on these tools, which will be scheduled on July 16th. If you would like information or an invitation to that session, please feel free to reach out to your customer consultant. Or if you don't know who your Elsevier contact or customer consultant is, then please send me an email at c.cogswell@elsevier.com. I will include my email in the chat as well. Thank you all so much for attending and for your attention today.